his name is Ullah. So welcome to the show.
Thank you.
And before we do start asking questions, because that's what I do, love doing all the time, I will give a short introduction. So of course he is the founder, well he has a co-founder, but he is the co-founder of OdjoAI. I think I pronounced it right.
OdjoAI.
Yeah. Right. I did realize I was going to stumble on that, so that's why we have him here today. And before we do go into it, how are you today?
Alhamdulillah, I'm good. How are you?
Alhamdulillah, I'm good. Now, I know you studied at London School of Economics before, of course, going on to this whole journey of like going to AI and all sorts. How did you find university?
It was great. I think university is very interesting, especially in the UK.
Yeah.
Because it's so structured. Like
Yes.
you know exactly what everybody does. Everybody around you sort of competing for the same roles.
Yeah.
Either becoming lawyers, consultants, investment bankers, or whatever. And like, it was very interesting for me because I've always known I wanted to do my own thing.
Right.
So it was me and like a few of my friends basically being like, you know what?
But then why would you choose AI? Like, I mean, it's something that's still growing at the moment. I think with AI, what I don't understand is like, it's very different. Like you're looking into like, obviously, I think it's to do with jobs, isn't it? You're going to tell me a bit more about it, of course, like the project that you started. But how did you find yourself, doing research into this project and then finding yourself starting a startup?
So what's interesting, I think, about all of this is that AI is it's everywhere.
Yes.
Right? So like with healthcare, it's there, with law, it's there, with finance, it's there. But for me, I've always been very interested in startups. So after graduating, I got a job in a startup accelerator program where everybody was building something in AI.
Okay.
So I was naturally exposed to it. And
But what did you do for university then?
So I studied management.
Okay.
Yeah. So management, for those who don't know, is basically applied economics is the best way of explaining it.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah. But I think AI, because it was around me, I was sort of like, okay, what is this? And then like, this is coming out of the sort of crypto bubble as well. So I was very much like, hey, there's quite a few technologies that are interesting. People might not really understand what they do. But AI is genuinely having a beneficial function in our lives. And then I started building with it. And I was like, you know what? Like, this is actually insane. The ability, the things that AI can do are ridiculous. And I always show my uncles back, like whenever I'm with them, I'm always showing them the sort of the latest updates and how everything's changing. And it's week on week, there's changes.
Yeah.
And that's what excites me the most. And that's what made me want to be like, hey, you know what? Let's do something there. Let's do something here. Let's bring it to the masses, basically.
Okay. So then how did you, I mean, your friends and you co-founded this project. Now, how did you sort of think, you know what, let's bring it to the market. Let's make it a serious deal. Because I think when you're young, it is like you start a project and you're just like, oh, it's okay, whatever. And then you don't go on with it. So where did you guys think the market was at the time?
So I think one of the main things is, because of my exposure to AI, I spoke to everybody about AI. And the most interesting insight was that people didn't realize like how powerful it is. And so when I got my two co-founders together, I was like, okay, guys, this is the opportunity. This is what we can achieve. And then I spoke to 200 photographers basically.
200?
200,
wow.
yeah, exactly. So because our tool, basically what it does, it can find customers for any small business around the world. But I spoke to 200 photographers and pretty much every single one of them was like, wow, like I need to find work. I don't know how to find work.
Right.
And I was like, have you considered AI? They're like, no, I'm too scared, or no, I don't know how to use it, it's too technical, etc. And I was like, you know what, it's really not that difficult. And then we built a solution for it. Alhamdulillah, now we are where we are.
So it's not like Indeed and Read, like where they're making our lives so much harder with like applications and stuff, is it?
No, so this is more so for people that have got a business existing.
Okay, fine.
And basically what it does is you say what kind of customers you want to find.
Okay.
Press search, say which area you're in,
Right.
and it will find you customers in that area. Generate emails for them as well, create
Amazing.
conversations with them, continue those conversations up until you've booked them as a client, basically.
And this is all AI, you don't have to do anything else?
Yeah, it's all AI, but it's all ethical AI, so we train it.
So what does ethical AI mean?
So ethical AI is basically like, what's very interesting about it is sort of the data processing side of things. So we don't train our models on anything other than sort of the stuff that we're telling it, right? So like with a lot of businesses such as Perplexity AI and stuff, they're trained on everything on the internet, which steps into murky waters.
Okay.
With us, we're like, no, we know the sort of core, like the fundamentals of what we want to achieve. We put that as the input basically when we're coding it, and then we generate an output. But it's all legitimate data. None of it is scraped from anywhere dodgy. It's all publicly accessible, and it's all like in line with the law, basically.
Fine. And how are you finding it now that you've started? Of course, I think it's been 6 months, hasn't it?
Yeah.
What's it like?
It's interesting. It's a lot of fun because I think the main thing about it is the lack of accountability, right? As opposed to traditional careers. Like my fiance actually, she's a lawyer, right?
Right.
So I'm always speaking to her about law and how it's so structured. Whereas for me, it's like everything is happening all at once. And like on a Sunday evening, like I have to be doing work, right? I'll be on holiday. I have to pull out my laptop and just do work. And it's like, it's everywhere.
Yeah.
But as long as you're on top of it, you can make a lot of progress very quickly,
Definitely.
especially if you leverage AI.
But then how do you stay on top of it? I mean, of course, with AI, it makes life a lot more easier. I know I use AI, but I try not to say that to everyone, just saying. But how do you stay on top of everything?
I think one of the main things is be part of mailing lists, honestly. So like
Really?
it's an interesting insight. But what I mean by that is I get like emails from all sorts of AI companies weekly, and it's like, oh, these are the updates that we've had. And I read into it, and I'm like, wow, this is actually insane. This actually could change the way that we're even building our tool. This could change the way that lawyers are interacting with their sort of legal cases,
Yeah.
the ways that doctors are interacting with their patients. And if you're on top of it, you can then leverage it. And
Right.
sort of if you're rolling with the tide, basically, then that's the best way to stay like,
That's
on
an
board.
interesting thing to look into, actually. I might recommend it to the firm I'm with right now. But of course, now that you've started this, this project by yourself as well as your friends, do you think you're going to branch out later into something else? Like, will you do another startup? How is the future looking for you at the moment?
Yeah, so inshallah, hopefully very bright.
Inshallah.
What's interesting about it is that with startups, people don't realize how they work, right? So there's
No.
sort of two main ways in which three main ways in which startups finish. First is failure. So like
Right.
something like 95% of startups fail, but it's usually because of either co-founder breakup or abandonment. So when you can't
Right.
hold yourself accountable. The second is an exit. So that's when a bigger company comes in and says, I really like the tech that you built, I like the team that you built, I want to buy you. And the third is a public listing, basically. So when you take it to the stock markets. And I think for me, inshallah, the route is the second one. So it's that we're
Inshallah.
building this out. There are companies that are doing similar things, but not for the customer segment that we're doing it for.
Right.
So inshallah, the plan is like build it, get a bunch of customers, and then have enough like valuable data that a bigger company will take us and be like, you know what, we like what you've built, come and join us, basically. And then what happens there as well is that a lot of the time companies will basically employ you. So they'll take your company and pay you a nice sum.
Yeah,
Like
inshallah.
inshallah. They'll hopefully retire you.
Yeah.
But then they'll be like, you know what, come and work for us.
Okay.
So like build the product that you were building, but with
With
our
us, yeah.
facilities, with our
Fine.
hundreds of millions of pounds or whatever. And then, like, that's how it grows.
That sounds really exciting. I wish I had that in law, but we don't have that. We have to work as slave ourselves away. Anyways, but I mean, what is the customer segment at the moment that you're looking at?
So what's very cool is ours is really targeting the 5.5 million small businesses that exist in the UK.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot of
Yeah,
numbers. Okay.
So basically, like for a bit of context, after LSE, I went and worked in sales for a bit, and
Right.
that was tech sales.
Okay.
So I was on the phone 200 times a day, calling 200 different people a day, hating life. Alhamdulillah, as in like not hating, but yeah.
At the time you were. Okay, fine. Fair, it makes sense.
But what I learned was that's how tech is sold. So
Right.
that's how like a lot of TV channels, for example, will bring in certain softwares, or a lot of big companies will bring in other softwares. But it's a process that happens, and it's a process that has millions and millions of pounds behind it.
Okay.
What I then realized is that AI can repeat any repeatable process, basically. So like whether it's helping apply for universities, such as like a company that my friends are building, or again, like going back to law and medicine, if there's a repeatable process, AI can do it. And so that got me thinking. I was like, you know what? I had a few hobbies. I did a lot of photography on the side as well.
That's why you reached out to the 200 photographers.
Exactly.
Okay, fine.
So I was like, as a photographer, what tools could I use, or what sort of processes could I use?
Right.
And it was this outbounding, it was this outreach that people don't realize exists. And so when we started bringing that, we were like, wow, there are so many companies out of these small businesses that just do not have sales teams, do not realize that, yeah, people can walk through the front door, but you could also actively go and reach out to people.
Yeah.
So why not do that? And that was basically the premise of it. And that's the reason we can reach out to these 5.5 million businesses, is because 80% of them don't have sales teams. So there's suddenly 4.5 million businesses that could genuinely leverage a tool like ours to help and grow their business.
Yeah, I'm mind blown. I don't know what else to say. I'm just like, whoa, taken aback. But I mean, now that you look back on, let's say your career, I mean, I know you're very young still,
Yeah.
of course. So there's not a lot to look back on. But if you did look back, what would there be something that you would change? If there was something you could do differently? I know we all reflect sometimes on our careers and things like that.
I think the main thing would be school. So I think in
Cool.
Why
would you say that?
Because in school I used to like, because I've always known I wanted to do my own thing. But what that meant was I was sort of like, okay, in certain lessons I'd be like, you know what, this isn't really related to what I want to do.
Yeah.
But it turns out pretty much every subject does actually come in handy, like at a later stage. So like, for example, Spanish. Right?
Yeah.
Like I did not like my Spanish teacher. But now when it comes to business and stuff, I'll meet people who are doing,
Who,
like,
yeah,
who speak
fair
Spanish. So I'll be like, oh, you know what, like, speak.
I can speak Spanish. Okay, fair enough.
But I think just sort of looking back, it's if you focus in school, that's laying the foundations, and that's what I wasn't taught in school.
Okay.
And I think if I laid those foundations back then, I'd have a lot more skills probably now to be able to build even better.
But I mean, alhamdulillah, you are where you are today because of those skills. And of course, it's okay to reflect on it. So it's great. But I know, of course, your parents are doctors,
Absolutely,
right? So, I mean, what's it like for you being the odd one out? I mean, in the family, everyone's a doctor and there's you start up.
Yeah. No, so my parents are doctors, my older sister's a doctor, and my older brother's a doctor.
Oh my God, whole family.
Yeah. So I am unfortunately taking my brother away
Yep.
from medicine, so inshallah he's joining us full time
Okay, amazing.
from August. But no, I think it was quite interesting because it laid the foundation. So seeing my mum and dad being so disciplined in their work, like whether it's going to a night shift, coming back and making sure they have time for us, or my mum making sure that there's always like sort of cooked food on the
yeah,
table,
definitely.
right? There was always that discipline,
Yeah.
and that was the underlying like principle that I grew up with. It was that if you have discipline, you can then
Do
have
anything.
a lifestyle off the back of
Right.
it. But it's like you put in the years of work. So I saw my dad training for 15 years before he
Yeah.
was able to make it to a consultant level. But once he did, alhamdulillah, like
Yeah.
you can see the differences.
Difference, yeah.
And I think it's a testament to the startup scene where it's that you have to put in work. Like nobody will get rich quick. But if you put in the work and you
can
have that
make it.
discipline,
Yeah.
inshallah, like
Inshallah.
the
I'm taking the advice.
Yeah.
I'm taking the advice. But thank you so much for being on the show today. I really appreciate it.